The National Hockey League stands today as one of the most prestigious and globally recognized professional ice hockey leagues. With teams spread across the United States and Canada, the NHL has captivated millions of fans with its high-paced games, intense rivalries, and storied history. But how did the NHL come to be, and what is it now? Origins: the birth of the NHL. The history of the NHL is deeply intertwined with the history of ice hockey itself, which dates back to the early 19th century. Hockey as we know it today developed from a variety of winter games played in Canada and Europe. By the late 19th century, the sport had evolved to be played on ice rinks with standardized rules. The NHL was founded in 1917 in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. Its creation followed the dissolution of the National Hockey Association, a professional ice hockey league in Canada. The NHL was mired in conflicts and internal strife, particularly between the league's owners and the influential Toronto Arenas, later the Maple Leafs, owner Eddie Livingstone. At the NHA's last meeting in November 1917, the decision was made to dissolve the league and form a new one. The result was the birth of the National Hockey League. Initially, the NHL consisted of just 4 teams: the Montreal Canadiens, Montreal Wanderers, Ottawa Senators, and Quebec Bulldogs. The league quickly established itself as the top professional hockey league in Canada, and its influence grew rapidly. Early years and the original 6. During its early years, the NHL's expansion was gradual, but it saw its most significant growth in the 1920s and 1930s. The most important aspect of this period, however, was the introduction of the original 6, a group of 6 teams that would dominate the league for nearly 3 decades. These teams were Montreal Canadiens, Toronto Maple Leafs, Boston Bruins, Detroit Red Wings, Chicago Blackhawks, New York Rangers. The NHL, though still small compared to modern leagues, began to draw more fans as it grew. The original 6 era, which began in the 1940s and lasted until the mid-1960s, is often considered the golden age of hockey by many longtime fans. This period saw the rise of some of the most legendary players in the history of the sport, including Maurice Richard, Gordie Howe, Bobby Orr, and Jan Beliveau. During the early years of the NHL, the league struggled with financial instability and competition from rival leagues, but by the 1950s, it had firmly established itself as the dominant hockey league in North America. The 1950s and 1960s also marked the rise of television broadcasting, which helped boost the NHL's visibility, and the expansion of the league from 6 teams to 12 by 1967. The expansion era, 1967 to 1979. In 1967, the NHL experienced one of the most important moments in its history. The league expanded dramatically from 6 to 12 teams. This expansion was partly a response to the growing popularity of the sport and the increasing interest in cities outside of Canada. The expansion included the addition of several new American teams, such as the Los Angeles Kings, Minnesota North Stars, Philadelphia Flyers, Pittsburgh Penguins, and St. Louis Blues. This move helped solidify the NHL's status as a North American league, with teams in both Canada and the United States. The 1970s also marked a golden era for hockey in the United States, with the creation of the World Hockey Association. The WHA provided strong competition for the NHL, attracting big-name players like Wayne Gretzky and Bobby Hull, who eventually made their way to the NHL after the 2 leagues merged in 1979. The merger with the WHA brought 4 new teams to the NHL, including the Edmonton Oilers, Hartford Whalers, Quebec Nordiques, and Winnipeg Jets. This expansion further increased the NHL's footprint and led to the growing globalization of the sport. The Wayne Gretzky era, 1980s-1990s. The 1980s and 1990s marked the most successful period in the history of the NHL, largely due to the arrival of Wayne Gretzky, who is widely regarded as the greatest hockey player of all time. Gretzky's career, particularly with the Edmonton Oilers and later the Los Angeles Kings, helped propel the NHL to new heights in terms of popularity. With Gretzky in the league, the NHL saw its first widespread national television coverage in the U.S. during this period. The league expanded once again, adding teams like the San Jose Sharks, Ottawa Senators, and Florida Panthers. The 1980s and 1990s also brought the NHL to international prominence. The league began to draw players from around the world, especially from Europe and Russia. The Soviet Union's dominance in international hockey gave way to the emergence of top-tier players from Eastern Europe, such as Sergei Fedorov and Pavel Bure. In the 1990s, the NHL also began to embrace the global nature of the game. The NHL's successful Canada Cup and World Cup of Hockey tournaments became prime opportunities for NHL players to represent their countries in international competition. The modern era, 2000s present. The 21st century has seen the NHL continue to grow in popularity, while also confronting some significant challenges, including labor disputes and the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. In 2004 to 2005, the NHL went through its first ever lockout, which led to the cancellation of the entire season. The lockout was a result of disputes between team owners and players over salary caps and revenue sharing. The 2005 to 2006 season was the first with a salary cap in place, and the NHL's financial structure changed forever. Despite this setback, the NHL came back strong, with new franchises emerging in cities such as Columbus, Nashville, and Dallas. By the late 2000s, the league had also expanded internationally, with games being played in Europe and even in China. The league also created the Winter Classic, an annual outdoor game that has become a major attraction for fans. The 2010s saw the NHL further embrace its international nature, as players from countries all over the world, including Sweden, Finland, Russia, and the Czech Republic, took center stage. The global appeal of the NHL continued to increase, with new players like Alexander Ovechkin, Sidney Crosby, and Austin Matthews rising to prominence. One of the most important moments in recent NHL history was the league's decision to participate in the Winter Olympics. NHL players first competed in the Olympics in 1998, and the 2018 Pyeongchang Winter Olympics saw NHL players compete for their home countries, despite some controversies over scheduling and player availability. In 2020, the COVID-19 pandemic drastically affected the league. The season was suspended, and a temporary bubble was created in Canada to finish the playoffs. In 2021, the NHL expanded further, adding the Seattle Kraken as its 32nd team. The NHL today. This today is a vastly different league compared to its early days. It has become a truly global institution, with players from all over the world making an impact in North America's premier professional ice hockey league. The league structure remains similar, with 32 teams spread across the United States and Canada. However, the landscape of the NHL has shifted in terms of style of play, player development, and fan engagement. Modern-day hockey is faster, more skill-driven, and more athletic than ever before. The league has placed a greater emphasis on speed and agility, with a focus on smaller, quicker players rather than the physical, hard-hitting style of earlier generations. The introduction of advanced statistics like Corsi and Fenwick has given fans and analysts a deeper understanding of the game. Off the ice, the NHL continues to evolve in terms of marketing, fan engagement, and technological innovation. The introduction of virtual arenas and in-game stats on broadcasts has made following the sport more engaging than ever before. The NHL has also become a leader in sustainability efforts, with teams reducing their carbon footprints, organizing green initiatives, and moving toward more environmentally friendly arenas. The impact of technology and streaming. As of 2025, technology has played a significant role in shaping the NHL's approach to fan engagement and broadcasting. The NHL has partnered with streaming platforms like ESPN Plus to expand its digital reach, allowing fans to watch games and highlights from anywhere in the world. In addition, the NHL has introduced virtual reality and augmented reality experiences to allow fans to feel more connected to the action, whether they are watching at home or in the arena. Moreover, the NHL has embraced sports, with a growing number of fans participating in NHL video games online. This trend has helped to bridge the gap between traditional hockey fans and younger generations who may be more inclined to play games than watch live sports. Diversity and inclusion in the NHL. The NHL has made significant strides in recent years towards promoting diversity and inclusion, both on and off the ice. The league has been actively addressing issues such as racism, sexism, and homophobia, and it continues to encourage players from diverse backgrounds to join the sport. As of 2025, there are more players from various ethnic backgrounds than ever before, including those from the LGBTQ+ community. In addition to increasing diversity among players, the NHL has placed a stronger emphasis on growing the game in underserved communities. The league has invested in grassroots programs aimed at introducing young people of all backgrounds to the sport. Initiatives like Hockey is for Everyone have become key parts of the NHL's mission to make the sport accessible to people from all walks of life. If you enjoyed this video through hockey history, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to stay updated on more in-depth stories and insights from the world of sports. Share this video with your fellow hockey fans and write in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.